showing us very clearly, hey, this is my power, and I'm going to use it to do this to you and your family. And here's the thing is that, like, I don't want anybody to feel helpless. Here, please, God, don't feel helpless. We still have our power, but we have to not pretend that people we're dealing with right now are in any other, they're these people. I guess what I'm saying is that at a certain point in time, if everything keeps happening the way I think it's happening, no, we're definitely going to be in a situation where we got to give these people their lunch bill. We got to.
Let's talk about. Let's talk about all the things that have occurred, because they traumatized everyone so much. They expect us not to remember the train of events that occurred building up to the COVID-19, which you and I reported on. But let's talk about how they've pretty much eliminated, mom and pop and small businesses, and in favor of, corporate giants like Amazon and other huge online suppliers. And very systematically, they've really, really broken down, our economy, so our way of socializing, and isolated and managed us to an extreme level.
They definitely feel okay. So they're definitely coming from a place of we own you, and you got to do what we want. And a lot of people, and I've talked to a couple of people, and they're like, well, I don't really feel that way. And I'm just kind of thinking, and again, we just have to be really honest about the fact that a lot of Americans have Stockholm Syndrome. Not only do they have Stockholm Syndrome, but they're totally okay with being abused by people who swore to them that they would uphold the Constitution. And that's the really scary part, I guess, that a lot of people don't really understand, is that, hey man, these people told you they were gonna, like, they pledged to take care of you, and they're doing everything but that right now. They're doing everything but that. But again, a lot of Americans have Stockholm Syndrome, and unless you're willing to be the kind of person who's willing to acknowledge that's definitely that's definitely one of the problems, then it's just going to persist. And that's where we are right now, is that we just have to get really honest with ourselves. Like, okay, some of us, like the free cookies. Some of us want to bake our own. And it's really messed up. We are traumatized. Yeah, I'm not going to lie about that. But I want to also be very clear that, like, a lot of people in our country they're really messed up, and they're not even cognizant enough to vocalize what the trauma is. Like, I think that's one of the more profound, points of our situation, is that there's a lot of people who don't even know how to voice what's been done to them. They don't even know how to look you in the face and say, I'm really not okay. Like, because in their mind, and then they're excusing themselves with the virus. And that's the crazy.
The one thing that is really disturbing in all of this, David, on the other day, Mark Zuckerberg recently was on social media with Dr. Fauci. And I was asking the same question over and over again. Why is the vaccine the only viable solution when you can be reinfected? Why here in America aren't doctors allowed to question this narrative? And why are they not allowed to discuss openly in forums viable solutions and treatments? Because if you can be reinfected, how is a vaccine supposed to even be a solution?
See, and that's where things get a little strange, because once you start asking questions like that, it's like, well, I guess basically what I'm trying to say is that we've reached a point now where we have to be adults. We have to be adults in the sense that we can't just look these people in the face anymore and take them at their word because, they're already, they're told, listen, here's what's going on. Every bad thing that has ever kept America from being a better country, never mind being great, but everything that has kept America from being a better country that lives, true to the principles of, this is a better kind of nation, or I should say, a nation of laws, right? A nation of law. Everything that has helped us in that way, these are the people that every chance they got, they jumped right in the way to make sure it wasn't possible. And that's what a lot of Americans have to kind of really grow up and look at right now and stop. Like we can't make excuses for our situation anymore. And that's what I'm really saying, is that I think Americans have gotten in the habit of making excuses for every time something bad happens. They're like, oh, well, the man on TV said this. It's like, did you even go and research it? Like,
no, and the thing is they didn't even answer my question. They flat out. I mean, I could see the expression on his face. He was frustrated that I kept posing the question. And it became painfully obvious that the whole open forum was just scripted. And the thing is there is nobody really adulting or standing up and asking these questions. Nobody's posing these questions. It's like they'll almost even fight to maintain the narrative that, oh, we need a vaccine. That's the solution. I have never experienced this level of brainwashing and crazy. Yeah, just total madness in my entire life. Like I'm just watching this, and I'm just like,
it's a lot to take in from the standpoint that, we're dealing with people who are basically trying to tell us, I believe it, so you have to believe it too. And it's just like, wait a minute. Part of being an American is having the ability to, exercise your personal right to disagree or have a free thought. And I think a lot of this is people who, a lot of the people who are falling under the sway of a lot of this silliness are people who've never been in a situation where they had to actually self-actualize their experience, and they've been able to hide in a drug-addled state for a really long time, and now we're all being put in a situation where you can't drink your way out of this. You can't smoke marijuana your way out of this, or whatever street drug you're doing. You can't inebriate yourself long enough for this to pass. And I'm speaking about people who have fallen under the sway because they were able to distract themselves. And then it was that moment where it was like, and this is what I think a lot of people don't understand, is that from the election to the fake lockdowns to the pandemic, and I'll say something about that in a second, but all of these things, you have to, this is what people have to remember. They're doing this to you on purpose. You are only a victim if you let them if you let them achieve their objective through the tools of making you feel like, oh, without government doing what it wants to do, you'll get sick. So they put the onus of their job. Their job is, hey, protect me without ruining and trampling over my civil and constitutional rights. Do your job without that. Otherwise, you have to leave. So here they are turning around. Oh, well, I got to close your job because the number keeps going up. Wait, the guy on the news said the numbers keep going up. People keep going to the hospitals and looking, and the numbers aren't going up. And then there you have it. But then when you turn around and you look at the situation a little more closer, what you realize is it's not just that, okay, they're trying, you saw that we were lying to you about what was happening at the hospitals. Well, you can't go outside because it's still serious at the hospitals. And then they bring out all of these quote-unquote so-called celebrities to say, I can't believe people are acting crazy about, following the COVID rules and this, that, and the third. And there are some people who have comorbidities, who have compromised immune systems, and they can't deal. and they have a real excuse. But, we're talking about a particular portion of the country who are also essential workers, right? But more importantly, we're talking about a situation where they took the onus of doing their job and mentally put it on us. Like, well, what are you going to do? Well, you got to stay home. I can only make rules. And then it's like, oh, the numbers are so high. Now I'm going to just force you to do it. But the numbers aren't real. So there's this deliberate attempt to create this sort of fiction of, what's the word? A fiction.
It's this blatant political theater. And that if you question the official narrative, that you're somehow like you need to be banished or censored.
Yeah, you're the bad person now. and that's the weird part is that it's this totally contrived situation where you have to remember these people are grifters. Their job is to create a fictitious situation so you feel threatened. And then while you're feeling threatened, they can cajole you into doing any number of things because you're off guard and you're like, well, I'm trusting you. They trust us, so we gotta, you know what I mean? So that's that whole thing about them abusing their authority. Isn't, them abusing their authority? It's them abusing their authority by deliberately lying to us about things that are not real. And that's where the real criminal flavoring comes in, is that these people, they know that they're lying to us, but they're still going to do it because their whole attitude is, well, you got to prove I did it. And that's what's going on with the election too, is, oh, you got to prove I did it though. So if you can't prove I did it, then I didn't do it. But it's obvious though. That's the problem now, is that everyone's been caught. And Americans aren't putting up with it. They're like, yeah, I'm definitely filling out an affidavit.
Here's the bigger picture thing that's really concerning me, because as we go deeper into the second lockdown, we are experiencing isolation at a whole other level. And there is not only have they been waging the psychological and economic warfare on the American people, but now it's where the dumbing down has become complete. The brainwashing has become complete, the traumatizing and the Stockholm syndrome. But now we're going into the emotional suppression, emotional IQ suppression.
Well, I think that's a factor, but I also get the impression that a lot of it's starting to wear off, which is why they pretty much have to keep blocking people on social media and wiping their accounts. And it's just like, and it's funny. It's funny to me to watch these people. Like this is okay. We have no friends. Listen, the only person that's keeping you from the only reason why you're not pumped full of. Because here's the thing is, you need a vaccine. We have therapeutics. Okay, so we've got technically 3 vaccines already. We won the vaccine race, like that's something you celebrate, but we won the vaccine under these circumstances. So we won the vaccine race. Not only did we win the vaccine race, but we've got a ton of therapeutics that will fix it without having to get a vaccine. So the question becomes, why do we still need to lock this down, and how are the numbers still climbing? And that's the crazy part, where it's like, okay, so the media is faking the numbers now. The media is recording deaths of people who died from something else. Now, if there's some listeners listening who are like, I had a family member who died from it, and I'm looking at them, and before, maybe a month or 2 ago, when those people, lashed out and said, no, I had a relative that died from it. You don't know what you're talking about. I would have said, maybe you're right. But now I'm like, you don't even know if that's what your relative died from. You're going with one opinion. Do you have a second opinion about how your relative died? Have you gotten an autopsy? That's the thing, is that people are dropping dead, and then people are getting death certificates, but they're not looking at the coroner's documentation. And I guarantee you, if you ask a coroner right now, And I'm only bringing this up because there's a bunch of coroners that are about to keep coming out saying, like, I was